I don't know if you have met Alejandro before, but it's that guy.
Hi, Christine. How are you?
Hello. I'm good. It's been a while.
Yeah, right? How is everything?
Everything's okay, day by day. How are you? How is your family?
Well, they're all very good. We can't
Okay.
complain.
Good. I'm eager to.
How's your family? I speak to you every single day, but I don't know how your family. I'm expecting all good.
Everyone's good. Everyone's good.
I'm excited to chat and to meet some of your students as well.
Yeah, no, me too. Me too. It's amazing that you're here with us. Thank you very much.
There's a lot of concern, about what's not only about what's actually happening right now, but about what is going on after.
Exactly, and that's what I want to focus on. Yeah.
Everybody's so concerned. Well, I am concerned, like including myself, about what's next. We having the team at Forgeeks is actually writing down some ideas on how we expect things after this. Just to see if we match some of the things, like if something happens to the after. So
yeah, this will be good. And that's what we need to focus on. What does that recovery look like, Because there will be a period of recovery.
There will be, yeah. That hasn't even started.
Not yet.
Yeah, which is the worst part so far. I'm going to start recording this. To those who are joining us, I'm seeing some familiar faces, but for example, Newton's beard is getting bigger.
How's it going?
So we're gonna record this session. We're also live in YouTube, I guess. Alejandro already did that. So if you want to share this,
recording has started.
If you want to share this within your social media or with your friends, I think we're all open to share the conversation that we're having tonight. Of course, everyone will be speaking on their own I don't know, responsibly and on their own behalf, But again, it's a friendly conversation that we, in terms of what Forgeeks is actually promoting right now, we're really engaged on how we can be a voice and how we can be part of the solution to the city and actually to the cities where we have locations. We're doing a series of workshops and webinars in Santiago, in Madrid, in Venezuela, in the US, because a lot of people that are either part of Forgeeks or surrounding Forgeeks or anyhow interested in Forgeeks or they know Forgeeks somehow, well, it's the kind of people that are also making some questions and wondering how things will be afterwards. And also, we have been hitting really hard in the cities where we are. Miami, not so much, but the US in general. And Madrid, my God, was one of the top cities in the world. So we're really touched about what's going on. And that's why I think it's great to have you, Christine, here. Christine is the Vice President of Innovation and Economic Development at the Miami Beacon Council. I think I know Christine for 3 years ago, I think. Alejandro Sanchez is also here. Alejandro is the co-founder of Forgeeks together with me, and Marcelo Regiliano. I think we have all the same, even though we work in different areas, we are actually within the same industry or within the same ecosystem. We all work for a better Miami, for building a better ecosystem, and we just try to do a better job every single day, you know. So, Christine, welcome again. And my first question, I know that you told me before that you also have some questions for me and for Alejandro, but let me start with that. So,
Of course.
how, like, in your own terms, what do you think is actually happening right now? Not in the health kind of approach, but in terms of the economic impact that we're having in Miami.
Yeah. Hello, and thank you. This is a great opportunity to just have a conversation. It's actually my first conversation outside of work, for an event. So thank you. So what is happening? What is happening is that this is unprecedented. It's new for everyone around the world, right? So when we talk about the economy, there's significant job loss. We're at, I believe, around 3% now, when we were at pretty strong 1.5, I believe, as far as unemployment rate in January. Out of that, a very high number, of course, is hospitality and tourism, the lifestyle piece, a lot of the creative sector. And in some of that, of course, we look at some of the tech talent as well. Some of our major employers, we just heard about Magic Leap today. Unfortunately, they're pivoting, and we've lost around 1,000 jobs there. Just today that was announced. Royal Caribbean was another strong one that had a really unique innovation team. They actually lost a great deal of talent about a month ago, maybe 4 to 6 weeks ago, when things first started hitting with COVID. And there are others that we're still trying to capture. This is, again, unprecedented. Every day is changing. We're highly concerned about the displaced workers, and we want to ensure that they stay in Miami, in South Florida, I should say. So we're trying to keep up with the loss and also identify some of our economic development projects that are either new businesses coming to Miami or those that are already here that have been looking for talent, because we want to ensure that we find a way to connect the displaced workers with the need as well. One thing that we're really looking at, of course, when you talk about companies here, it's small businesses. We're finding many of them need tech-enabled solutions. They need digital transformation. They need sometimes basic things as far as a really modern or standard practice website. They need to be introduced to e-commerce, So what we're seeing is a heavy hit, like most communities, but what we're also seeing is that we're trying to find a way to help them keep afloat somehow, which is why we have identified different resources at Help.Miami website to help connect them with funding resources and such. So that's what we're seeing, and we're constantly learning every day, like all communities, and trying to figure out the way forward for the Miami-Dade County and in support of South Florida.
Yeah. I know about the cases that you mentioned before, in particular the news about Magic Leap. Yesterday night, I also found an article about the 38 or the 40 most promising startups and tech startups in Miami. So whenever I think on the impact that we are day by day receiving as a consequence of the COVID, I also think that technology is not going anywhere down. I mean, what I'm trying to say is that even though it's actually impacting in a really hard way to some companies, I don't think that technology is not going to be the solution.
Exactly.
We just have to find a way. That's why pretty much why Magic Leap is pivoting, or many others. We are all
Yeah.
people in some ways. Yeah.
And to that point, and thank you. My intention when I mentioned what's happening in our community definitely is to show the possibilities, right? So when you mentioned Magic Leap, and yes, they're pivoting. I think they're moving away from the consumer model. When we look at our community, we also see, as I mentioned, some of the businesses need assistance with digital transformation, e-commerce, all of that. That's opportunity. That's really what's happening now, which is quite a moment for your classes your cohorts to be in session right now. Is that it's the time to really look and see the opportunity with companies that, if they didn't have a strong line item for tech and innovation before, they certainly will moving forward. The ones that may not have understood the significance and the opportunity, they're seeing it now. When you look from small business to even enterprise, they're looking at where's the demand? Where are the consumers? How can they pivot their model? You look at our strongest industries. We've lost a great deal of jobs with the lifestyle and travel and tourism industry. However, what we are finding is that when you look at the restaurants and even some of the hotels, they're looking at various tech-enabled solutions. The restaurants, they're looking at how they can realign their business model to host smaller groups. How can they leverage existing apps? How can they identify ways of engaging with their customers in a different way? How can they identify ways of scheduling or, the rotation of the clientele as well? And they need help with that. And that's where job opportunities are going to be created as well. There's no secret. The world is going to look very different moving forward. But one thing that is for sure is when we look at technology as far as solutions, that's where the opportunity is going to be. We have to, look forward to that recovery period and also identify ways of strengthening our skill set and our business community so that they can meet the demand as well.
We can't forget that even though Miami has become a tech hub for the Latin kind of continent or subcontinent, Miami is still a touristic destination, and that means that there is a lot of employment related to restaurants, food, tourism, hotels, delivery, everything, right? So the impact on jobs, it's actually huge. And for example, let me give you an example on how we're seeing it's actually become an impact. We just launched a recent class a couple of weeks ago, and normally the people that is interested in learning to code, not only for gigs but in any coding bootcamp, they're normally trying to switch careers. That's normally what's happening. They want to get a new career in order to increase their income, change the way they create or build things, and they want to belong to an industry that is actually growing and long lasting. But like never before, the majority of the students that we got into the recent class, they come from restaurants. Either they're managers, waitress, or they deliver the food like as a driver. And that has happened before, and we have seen how Uber was sponsoring some of the careers before. But like never before, people are also realizing that you can actually have something else that is not just a gig,
Certainly.
Not that, yeah. So it's also an opportunity to switch, to turn around and actually find something.
It is, and I love that you said that, because I feel like that those workers that have lost those positions, those displaced workers, they are prime for looking into other careers that are more future forward, right? And they are the ones too that can bring great value as far as creating unique solutions because they are from the industry. And so having that knowledge base as far as their career, and then with the overlay of the tech education going through your program, that's very powerful. That's very powerful and it's significant. Perhaps they can create ideas around solutions. They can add value as the market bounces back, especially those industries, which it will at some point. It really will. And those industries will look very different. They will want those tech skill sets. We talk about all the time before COVID, the future of retail, the future of travel and tourism. Well, the future is now, and it is moving forward. The future is now because there's a great need for transformation for these new tools, for these minds that already have a familiarity with the industry. And as we talk about it, I really feel that there is you have to look between the gaps, right? Look at how the industries need to shift. Hospitality and tourism, what shift needs to take place in that arena? What tools can be inserted for that? Retail, health innovation, healthcare, all of that is significant opportunity. And for the term of the program, I think it's really great at this time, divinely, however it's come about, because there's a chance for students to really take a look at what's happening in the markets. They definitely can leverage and see where the pain points are and start to think a lot bigger, even beyond just thinking about job. What can they create as well? So when we come up out of this, the recovery, which is going to take a while, right? But when we come up out of this, there are going to be new industries created, new platforms, new demand for a very different market.
By the way, speaking about the Beacon Council per se, what can you tell us about the job that you're doing right now, the help that you're offering to your members and potential members interested? How are you helping right now? Because I've seen a lot of workshops being launched and a lot of conversations and roundtables. So maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we've been working very, very hard from day one. This Help.Miami is a site that we've put great energy into. This Help.Miami. And what that has are resources for companies to access. We're continuing to add more and more tools to it. It has access to the SBA loans that have been announced, and I think they've just recently been refunded as well, or funded again, I should say, and other funding sources. In addition to that, for companies that are interested in getting assistance with that process, we have what we call business technical assistance support. These are organizations from the SBA to the county's Small Business Development Center, the SCORE, and others that have stepped up to support companies through that application process. So we're continuing to build out the resources there as needed, and as we move towards recovery, we'll transition those resources as well. But we've been working on that, and we really have been focused on making sure that our business community hears it straight from our leadership. So we've hosted various convenings virtually, or virtual town hall meetings as well. Something very very relevant to you and your students. We also have really been keeping our eye on position openings as well as those displaced workers as well, because we have various economic development projects, be they confidential or non-confidential, that's looking for talent, for tech talent. So we've been very focused on identifying where the need is and where the workers are, and also how to connect the newer workforce to the need that's available as well in this industry.
Let me share the website here. how is it called?
Biz, B-I-Z as in zebra, biz help dot Miami.
Miami. All right, there it is. There it is. For those. By the way, if you have any questions or any one of you want to add something to the conversation, feel free. There's a chat box here that you can use for that, and we're gonna make sure that the questions and comments are being addressed. In terms of, I don't know if you have updated data about jobs and the particular situation that we have in Miami. I was, as you can imagine, I'm always with an eye on the employment in the U.S. and in Florida because that's the target of our economy to get a good job. But if you have any updates or data about the current job status in Miami, particularly in South Florida, how it is right now?
Yeah, so we're actually in the process of getting those numbers. It's very new. I think COVID, the highest impact, just happened within the past, 3.5 weeks. So the updated numbers will be shared with us for sure. We're doing that research. Probably in the next couple of weeks, you'll get a better sense. If you know, it's happening pretty rapidly. But as you mentioned earlier, the tech segment had continued to grow. Actually, it was one of our top growing segments here in Miami, and I don't imagine that'll change. Quite honestly, I think the level of growth may change, but I think that we'll continue to have growth in that sector, especially as we look towards the recovery phase, which our leadership is looking towards now, from the state leadership, the county, and cities. What does that look like? And so, yeah, we have those numbers. I don't have any hopeful updates because the impact just really hit the past 3.5 weeks or so. But what we do know is that unemployment has gone to 3% when it was at a celebrated 1.5, 1.8 around January. But I imagine, especially now as the conversation is shifting to what is recovery, or even I should say, what does pre-recovery look like? What does the preparation for recovery look like? And then recovery. There's a step before that recovery. So we'll have more data on that for you for sure.
You know that actually there is a team of people that work towards building partnerships and talking to different companies around the area. And every single Friday we share a list of open positions to our to the people that belongs to the community, right?
Oh, nice. And
in terms of but we only look at the particular scope of web development or software development. And it's a really narrow kind of search because it's also junior development. Well, it's a filtered search. But last week I remember that I spoke to the team and I was like, how it is right now, because everybody's been actually having the same question. And they were like, it's the same amount of openings this week. There's nothing actually changing in terms of at least postings. That's the only data that I can validate. We're trying to also reach out to them in order to make sure that opening or that post is actually open still, or if they're postponing maybe for a couple of weeks,
right,
maybe months.
Right. Yeah.
It's not always just like when a private company search for information that comes from other private companies, it becomes really hard to find the truth.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of information in the middle. But what we can say is that if you are in the position of maybe facing an unemployment situation, or whatever, or you are about to, because sometimes you have the feeling, it's about to happen.
Yeah.
Or if you are concerned about what's in the future. I remember I was speaking with a potential student yesterday, maybe she is here, and she was saying that she belongs to an industry that is actually totally, they stopped rendering the service because it's a transportation service for schools.
Yes, of
So
course.
there are no schools, there is no service
Right.
to be rendered.
Right.
So
Right.
even though they still have work to do or to complete, and like office work never stops. They're really concerned about the future. And she was
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, I know for sure. I know that I have to. If everything goes back to normal, beautiful. But if not, I have to have a plan B. You know?
You have to.
And that's what's behind the thoughts of maybe a lot of people right now. How, and I'm not talking just about technology or being
Right.
a software developer. It's not about that. It's actually It's actually about what you need, like in terms of the skills.
Mm-hmm.
What do I have to have in order to get through this and maybe find a new career or a new job or a new path afterwards? And I think it's the perfect timing. It's the timing what is important. To think, to sit down, and to see how you can maybe add value afterwards,
Yes.
and what's your main strength, and how you can I don't know, plan ahead. Even though
Yeah.
this is unprecedented, as you were saying, of course nobody thought about it before. This whole situation have a lot of stages. I'm starting to see a lot of stages in the new one. I remember the first conversation that I had with Alejandro, the first week of the Impact in Madrid, and then the first week of the Impact in the US. Alejandro actually went to Madrid the Sunday before they shut it down, so he stayed there for 2 days and he got back because we were launching a new program, a new company, and then the country was shutting down, and there was no business to be launched. And then the way back, when he was flying back, 1 week later, the US was shutting down.
Yeah.
Or starting to shut it down, because actually in the US it's a different situation.
Yes.
Every single week changes,
Yes. Every day, quite honestly, especially when you look at the funding as well for the small businesses, we have meetings every day, every morning, our team, every morning to discuss things. And we've been working on the weekends if necessary as well. So, I'm with you. I feel like this is a time for also opportunity. We're at quite a unique point. And it's important now to look at where the needs might be. To your point, it's technology, it's innovation, it's mindset, it's taking time to not only, participate successfully in the 4Geeks Academy, but take time to also look into the entrepreneurial mindset as well and learn a bit about that, learn new languages, learn about different industries that have significant pain points right now or challenges, because they're going to need solutions. Look into avenues to even connect. I know 4Geeks, you guys have such a great network anyway, which is, everything that you're doing in partnership with organizations and your network. But I think this is a time as well for students to really ask the question if they're taking advantage of the resources that you're providing as well. Really look at the whole network in Miami-Dade County as far as the innovation ecosystem. Such an amazing time to be in any room that you want to be in, because everything's virtual, and you can be present and learn. And there is a potential to network. It's just a different type of networking. You have to be in that virtual room to learn, to engage, and to see the opportunity that exists today, but also develop the relationships that you need when you're ready and when the market is ready towards the recovery phase. I see this.
Thinking
I'm
about
sorry.
networking,
Yeah.
I was thinking about networking, right? You were saying how important it is to network, and I know that you are really involved in the community with businesses. You are really engaged in networking with a lot of companies, and how it's actually that's how I met you. In terms of the members that belong or are related to the Beacon Council, what's the normal I don't know idea that they have on in terms of what do they say about the future? Like how it's like everybody's depressed and concerned and scared, or maybe a lot of people are also like, I don't know, thinking about new ways of being productive and launching new products and not scared at all by working into the new release. I don't know. What's the feeling right now?
I think so. When we talk about our members or businesses, it's people. And I think that we've all gotten a little bit over the shock of it. There was a point of disbelief, and then it's like, it was a bit painful at some points because it's just the uncertainty, but now we're settling in with the uncertainty of it all. Now it's time for action, right? We can't afford to just be still as individuals, nor as companies, as large or small companies. So what I see mostly, I see, particularly with our members, I have to say too, like the Banking and Finance Committee, Life Science and Healthcare, they've been on top of it from day one because they had to find ways of supporting not only the community as far as, a healthcare industry, healthcare workers, all of that, but the banking community. They had to make sure that they were up on the regulations for the funding that was available through SBA. They've been on calls. They have been doing virtual meetings. It's just been nonstop. I see them as being, I'll say, optimistic in a healthy sense because it's time for action. What do they need to do to be sustainable and make sure that their companies, their clients are sustainable? And I feel like also the rock stars of the group definitely are when you look at the smaller banks as well, because they can ebb and flow a lot easier, right? As far as members across the board, the airlines, all of that, I think that it's really cool. I think it's American Airlines. They're the ones that kind of pivoted right now. And some of their workforce they have making masks at this point. So they're meeting a need for the community. They're keeping that engine moving. So I think it's really, at this point, it's forward movement. It's what do we need to do pre-recovery for recovery's sake? What tools do we need to implement or employ? And what is the future of that industry? Again, going back to the airlines, what does it look like to have to create a security line where there are social distance measures in place so that we can get everyone in effectively, right? What does that, because we have to fly again. What does that look like? When we look at the tech, right? Like those things that we haven't, when we look at the tech industry too, of course the tech folks, that's our tribe. They're always, just ready to go on identifying ways to plug in and support and really be able to activate the knowledge that they have and the platforms that they have. So just to answer your question, I think at this point, it's really about what does recovery look like? What does pre-recovery look like? What are some models from other communities, whether nationally or internationally, look like so that we can get business going again with the well-being and the safety of the employee being critical to the process as well. So I am enthusiastic, especially as I work with my colleagues. I'm enthusiastic as we talk to our members, and it's a tough time. Some of them may have had to lay off a few individuals very painfully, but they're really eager to get going again in a safe way and in a way that benefits the well-being of the business community as well. And if I might add one more note, definitely when we look at even the smaller businesses, they want to learn more about tools that they can utilize for their future success, for their sustainability. This is a moment like no other moment that they realize the criticalness of cybersecurity, e-commerce tools, and being able to even operate remotely, So the future of work is really, it is here, it's now, it's remote, and it's innovative.
That I spend a lot of time thinking about how classes will be afterwards, and I haven't, and I think Alejandro either, we haven't figured it out. It's not, we're not in that point yet. I can't think so forward. Like plans right now is like planning what to do. How's next week gonna go? How is it? Like how we should plan next week. But like thinking in advance for 2 or 3 months is absolutely out of the question right now. But still, you have to think as a business owner and as a school how you are going to have classes. But the second thought that I have was actually how are you going to fly?
Yeah.
I spend at least half of my time flying or like traveling. I mean, not flying per se. And I've been 45 or 60 days already in the same place, so I'm getting used. This is my new normal. Not flying, I'm happy about it. But house flying, I don't actually have a straight answer. I saw that Eric Arbigoni said first class seating to everyone. Let's hope for that. I don't think that's going to happen. That would be lovely. And I also think that Alejandro had some questions. You want to come forward, Alejandro?
No, I just say that we've been talking a lot or you guys have been talking a lot in a very broad way, like in the economy, the industry, how it's going to affect the city. But if you try to think about how the citizen is being right now, his mindset is being changed, and it's being changed forever. Like it's
forever.
Like having, for example, I've seen more family during the quarantine than before, because my family is all over the world, and when you normally have a life that it's you have a lot of activities, you're always doing something, you see people in the places that you go, but you don't make time to create a party online for 40 different cousins and uncles around the world. And now we're seeing each other more often because of the quarantine, and I guess we now notice that it is possible to keep contact and have like these online parties. I'm not sure if we still are gonna prefer it, but we're gonna do it more than before. And the same thing I think is happening in every company. Like they are realizing that maybe I don't have to hire in New York someone for triple the amount of money that I can hire in Miami, because I can
exactly. Yeah, and the companies that we've been working with, especially local companies, and even those that we're attracting, they're highly interested in hiring local. They definitely are focused on that in a new way than we've seen before. I mean, there's always, of course, been local interest in our talent, but they've been very specific about that locally, which is great.
Yeah, I think in the long term, it's gonna be a huge boost for Miami as a because everyone wants to live in Miami, but maybe the economy is not as big as in New York. But maybe now you can share, but you have more opportunity to share both worlds, because companies are now like now you're gonna think twice if you want to go to New York and share a train in that highway, in that subway. Not to be. It's very selfish thinking from the Miami point of view, but I'm just trying to pick your mind in that.
It's reality, though, right? It's, and honestly, I'm from Washington, D.C., and I'm telling you, all my family's there, but it's a different experience going through this moment here in sunny Miami. I can go sit on my balcony. I can wake up and see the sun. It's a different energy, you know what I mean? Than being in a colder climate and the ease of getting around here as well. One thing, too, I have to say is that when we look at our community, so what is also happening is that more remote work. This is not going to disappear anytime soon, and it's a good thing. So when we look at, the tech folks, we're used to that. We're used to working remotely, and, it's probably, of course, it's preferred. But now more companies are on board with remote working. They're on board more with even having, gig economy workers actually to support their initiatives and their efforts and to fill gaps. And that's okay too. So it's all shifting. It's all about deeper relationships as well, I think. Local talent in amazing ways. And also looking at how we can support, our displaced workers as well. How can we pivot them into new areas and shift their career trajectory, which is life-changing. You just going into this new industry and making beyond, average wage or salary. That changes generations. So that's the opportunity as well. And especially here, companies that come here and those that grow here, they love the diversity of our community. Diversity is a problem any and everywhere, especially the West Coast and other communities as far as building teams. But when you come to Miami, you're kind of diverse from go once you land here, because it's the diversity of our multinationals, looking at the various languages.
Yeah.
They want to be able to access that, and you can do it with ease here. So I think it's going to continue to grow as far as interest as we shift towards the recovery phase as well. And this has always been an amazing kind of test bed, a place for pilots, So as different industries are shifting, they're looking for locations to roll things out and identify new markets. And that interest will really come back to Miami at a greater level as well, as larger companies are looking for solutions to new demands.
Yeah, and
Yeah, I was reading one of the questions made by Rixio Barrios that if we can share the list of companies hiring right now. And I wanted to say that we actually have that information. I don't have it right now in my hands, but if you share, Alejandro already answered that. But if you share your contact info, we can actually reach you out and share that information with you.
Sure.
And a remote job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and as mentioned, as I get the updated employment and unemployment numbers, I'll share them with you as well. I think that's important to have a frame of reference. So, especially given the shift in the past 3.5 weeks. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also remember that you had some questions for us, so I'm happy to jump into those questions that you had.
Yeah, I just wanted to learn more about. I don't know if there's a way that I could. The participants can respond, but I'm curious to know what some of their interests are following their time at 4 Geeks Academy.
Well, yeah, in the chat box they can either raise their hand or share their experience or the reality. I do know that. Huh?
I was just saying, is there someone that's brave that wants to respond?
To jump into the conversation. Maybe some of them. I don't know. Let's give them some time.
Okay.
I also was remembering that I had a conversation yesterday with one company in Miami, and they were saying, like, throughout this madness that we're living, they have been shifting business models 4 times already. You know, proposing
Wow.
different ways. Yeah, so proposing different ways of surviving or going through it, and how everything will be afterwards. And I think that stage by stage it changes. You know, your business will. You have to let also to take some time. You need to take some time and learn from what is happening. You know,
Definitely.
and not making fast and furious decisions are
Yeah.
also really important.
And that's where advisors come in. I think Trillion Ventures actually just started a program where you can sign up. They're a local investor, and companies can apply to get advisement. So I think that that's really critical. There's also a program through accesshelps.org. No, Access Helps South Florida. I believe that's it. No, accesshelps.org. They have a program that actually I think is national. It's through Generator. It's through an accelerator where they're providing mentor and support for companies as well during this critical time, for the reason that you mentioned, so that they can make smart decisions.
Very cool.
Yeah, and that's really necessary. And we also, as mentioned, bizhelp.miami. We have business technical assistance that we're continuing to add to that. But just go ahead and sign up. But there's some technical assistance providers as well that can help companies.
Okay.
And
there is someone asking for. I don't know if maybe you are able to answer that question, but is what opportunities are there for new developers, for junior developers? I guess.
Yeah. So there are junior opportunities at various companies. Again, things have shifted a bit, but there are opportunities for sure. I think if you look at, I was actually having a conversation about that. Some of the local startups looking for opportunities. I think Refresh Miami has a really good list of job openings. They're the ones that are creating. They're doing a great job, I think, of identifying talent and the need right now during this critical time. So definitely check them out. Then I would also suggest, if you have the means and you're able to, if you need projects to help build your portfolio, there are so many small businesses that need assistance, that need sometimes the most basic of things, or advice, or just someone to come and point them in the right direction to build out the initial platform. So I think that's something that I really encourage our students to explore as well. And also check in with these various accelerators here locally that do have companies, startups, or later stage high growth companies that are continuing to grow at this point as well.
Yeah. While we were talking, I received a message from Bridget, that is actually taking care of the career support for Geeks in Miami, and she was saying that Google. We had a conversation from someone. With someone from Google, and they have just opened a huge, not a huge, but an important amount of internships. And that's actually a good way to step up. And to maybe, well, if you get an internship from Google, forget about it. Do it.
Yeah.
If you have to stop eating, If you don't have money to survive, well, figure it out, but do it.
Figure it out.
Actually, for any shit, because that first step, we always say, the first step into coding is the only thing that matters. Then everything will change. You're going to find multiple choices afterwards. You're going to collect so much experience and so much background that everyone will be eager to hire you. And again, nobody is actually saying stop technology or stop software development or stop creating new things. That's not going to change.
It's not happening at all.
And I was, yeah, no, and I also.
So we are switching now to another event that we had at the same time. So thank you for everyone that was watching us at the event. We're going to start another event now in Chile and at our branch in Chile. So thank you very much for coming.